Hey everybody, welcome to Getting Moving, part 3 of the series. This is pivoting when needed, adapting your hobbies, and keeping it affordable. So in the last video, in part 1, we talked about integrating movement throughout your day. And in the most recent video, in part 2, we focused on keeping it simple and planning for future success, in which I did mention the QSS rule. But today we're going to be focusing a little bit deeper on pivoting when needed, adapting your environment for your movement hobbies, and adapting the movement hobbies in general with seasons of changing interests and how to do it without breaking the bank. Pivot when needed. Recognize when it's time for a change. It's important to stay flexible with your movement choices. It's natural to get bored or face obstacles that make your current routine unsustainable. That's where the ability to pivot comes in. So before I got into rock climbing, I was doing martial arts. And one of the reasons why I had to pivot from that is because at the facility I was at, it was a lot of younger individuals. And it got to the point to where it just was not a stress relief for me anymore. And it was breaking the bank. So I had to be adaptable and find something else. Then I went across rock climbing, and not only was it cheaper per month than the martial arts gym that I was going to, but I was able to have more age appropriate friends there. So being adaptable and reorganizing your situation can be helpful to not be as bored and to be able to go to something that is more suited for your needs at the time. It also allows you to not burn out with the thing and stop completely. So always being able to shift into your routine is helpful. So how do we identify signals to shift the routine? Well, if you're losing interest, or if the season is a little different to where things are picking up and you need something that is more towards your schedule, or you really want something more physically challenging, or you have a new goal to go by for your physical challenge, then that would be signs to switch. For instance, if you want to run a 5K, maybe switching to something that is more running based is going to be helpful for you compared to if you're trying to go and climb a 2-foot story building, right? Don't do that. But that's the example that came into my head. Well, if you're trying to climb a 2-story building, you would want to focus more on rock climbing and getting that going. If you're trying to run the 5K, you want to focus more on the running goals. For me, one of my goals was to be able to do the trifecta of the Spartan races. So I started incorporating running with my rock climbing, and that's been helpful to have both in there. I do have a histamine sensitivity, so running isn't always an option for me, and I have to do a little bit more climbing or a less intensive version at first if I overdo it. Shift your hobbies with the seasons of interest, okay? That's if you find something new that you really want to do, well, how can you integrate it in without breaking the bank? So the weather, the weather is just completely shit, you're gonna have to find a way to have something a bit more indoors based, right? Uh, to where the outdoor activities will have to translate to more indoor options, or if you're in a place to where it snows, maybe it's a place that is more towards that sport. If you are going to go about it this way, what I would say is try not to throw out your equipment just because you're done with the season, so you don't keep having to buy the equipment. When you are exploring new hobbies and interests, keep the equipment for at least a year or two because you may spiral back into it because you gained this familiarity to where when you go back into the hobby, it's a lot easier and more sustainable for you. So keep that in mind as you're doing it because skill acquisition can be pretty daunting at first. Experiment with new activities. It's okay to dive into something new when you feel the pull to do it. Just make sure to give it enough time to learn and enjoy the process before deciding if it's for you. I say 6 to 8 weeks is pretty good. For me, I like to do 12 weeks, which is roughly 3 months, in order to give it a chance and see noticeable differences, because it can be pretty discouraging in the beginning. Um, it's going to be based on you and what your abilities are to see how long that's going to be for you. For me, I personally like to do more running based activities, more vigorous activities, because I had the background into it. When I was in high school, I used to wrestle and I used to do cross country and all that stuff. So my hobbies are a little bit more centered around martial arts and um, running and obstacles and things like that, with it currently being rock climbing right now. Unfortunately, some of these hobbies are very expensive, right? So Spartan races cost money to go into, but typically all you need is a pair of running shoes and sometimes a gym membership in order to get monkey bars or something of that nature, unless you can find an outdoor spot. With rock climbing, you need the pair of shoes and the gym membership and chalk, which is cheaper than the martial arts, which the membership does not include typically the belt promotions, the um, the testing out, and the overall equipment that you need sometimes. So when you're picking your hobby, take this into account as you're doing it and maybe find the places that include some of these in the base price. I know I was only in the martial arts where I live right now for roughly 3 months, and I paid a good $700 for the equipment as well as $300 a month, which was not the market standard. It should have been a lot less. I was choosing convenience over anything, which was a poor point on my end that I see now with the financial aspects because I'm fully commission based. So not a good idea on my part. That's why I shifted into the rock climbing. But making sure you factor in the financial aspects into this is going to be very helpful, and the overall cost of equipment, because that does take its role in there. Keeping it affordable and practical is one of the things that will allow you to be successful in there. If you've been in the hobby for 6 to 12 months and it's something that has a lot of change and things like that in there for you, by all means, feel free to invest more into it. But at first, don't invest much into it before you actually are committed. I've been in rock climbing now for almost a year. So after 6 months, I did get a more expensive pair of shoes. I did get more expensive equipment. It's something I see myself doing more because there's 3 or 4 different styles of climbing that you can circulate through. And then in addition, you you have different climbs every month to do. So it keeps it interesting and it's affordable for me to do long term at the moment. These are all things to keep into account as you're going into your hobbies. Set that time frame because of the learning curve. I would set 3 months as I was mentioning earlier, and you can adjust this time frame depending on your schedule or interest level. The key is to stay flexible and set times around where and how you're going to do this, and take into account the other factors into your life. If you want to learn how to do this and you want to discuss it with me on how to keep track with your fitness goals and your health goals, I am a health coach and I focus on ADHD and a lot of mental health. So feel free to comment down below or email me admin@vitalu.org for a free discovery call so we can discuss how you can make this successful on your end. Have a great rest of your day. I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe for more, like, share with friends. Have a great rest of your day.